Thanks everybody for joining us. We're going to go over a number of topics today, all about talent acquisition and recruiting talent for your branches. This is really intended to give you kind of an overview of where we are currently as a company, the role you play as a hiring manager, but then also talk about some changes that we are making and expect all of you to make with us as we go through the recruiting process. We're also going to be really focusing on our new partnership with Seven Eagle, a staffing company that is really going to come along side of us and help augment the kind of existing MSI capacity to ensure that we can be as successful as possible, as quickly as possible. Before we kind of go into all of the details about Seven Eagle and what they do and how they do it, I wanted to start with a quick overview of our general talent acquisition process, and then break down the parts of the process that we are shifting to Seven Eagle and the parts of the process that we're retaining for ourselves. So overall, talent acquisition kind of works like a funnel, like you see here. At the top end of the funnel, we have this idea of getting ourselves as an employer out into the marketplace and getting people interested in working for us. And then as you can see, once you interest people in working with us, we then get people to apply for jobs, we phone screen candidates, we interview them, we make offers, and we do all of this work to get one hired. I don't have to tell any of you this. I think you all know that this is a ton of work just to get one hire in the building. And we're going to spend most of our time really talking about the top end of this funnel, because this is where most of our changes are happening. Previously, all of these employer brand impressions, this sourcing work that we did was through posting jobs on our own career website, job boards, Craigslist, generating referrals from our own employees, doing everything we could to get people to directly apply to us. And once that happened, you, the hiring managers, would get hundreds of applications, and your job was to sift through what was largely a pile of unqualified applications to find those that might be interesting, people might be worth talking to. And really, the next step in that process was you would phone screen them. You would pick up the phone, you'd have a conversation, and either someone in HR or you as the hiring manager would have a phone conversation to identify an even smaller group of people worth bringing on site for an interview. And then once you did, you bring them on site, you interview them, and you'd make a hiring decision. Really, that top end of the funnel represented hours of work across our HR team, but also for you as the hiring manager. Sifting through resumes, getting people to apply, sifting through resumes, getting people through the phone screen process, and doing all that work before they ever came in the building was a significant amount of effort. And part of what we did over the last year was try to evolve this process to reduce the burden of the work that fell on the hiring manager's shoulders. But another big thing we focused on was a big shortcoming of our prior process, and that was we weren't finding people who were kind of passively in the job market. We were only finding people who were actively applying to us. And a big focus was, how do we go find more passive candidates, people who would be willing to leave their existing job but aren't actively looking, or people who are willing to leave their existing job and looking for a job that might be kind of in line with what they think they're interested in, which means they weren't looking at MSI, and convincing those people that they might actually benefit from working with us and getting them interested in working for us. And so we did a bunch of work and identified a partnership with Indeed Hire to really help us increase the amount of passive candidates in our workflow, but then also help reduce some of the burden on the hiring manager's shoulders. And so what did that look like? Well, Indeed Hire used a bunch of artificial intelligence to source candidates who are not directly applying to us, find them on Indeed's platform, put our job in front of them and say, hey, we think you're a good fit for MSI, and we're going to invite you to apply for a job you didn't know about. From there, their artificial intelligence, along with some human recruiters, would screen out unqualified candidates. That's where some of the time savings for your hiring manager role came in, and would present you with a list of candidates that we have by and large removed the obvious bad ones from for you to actually review. And then if you wanted more information about a resume, you would click a button which would prompt a recruiter from Indeed Hire to actually call the candidate, and they would conduct a predetermined kind of scripted phone interview where we fed them questions that we wanted them to ask to gather more information about someone's. And then that information they gathered was presented back to the hiring manager, and based on the resume and the information they gathered in the phone conversation, you could then make a decision about whether or not to bring them on site. Although we had some great successes with that, we wanted to augment and supplement some of that work by also bringing in candidates that weren't necessarily through Indeed. And we had targeted specifically military veterans as a great way to supplement our existing work. And we did that for a variety of reasons. The reason we wanted to find more military veterans, all of you continue to say that one of the biggest things you struggle with is finding really dependable, hardworking employees who you could count on showing up every day to do the job every day. Our military veteran candidates doesn't tend to be the issue. They walk in the door with a tremendous wealth of experience, whether it's all in the military or from the military and civilian jobs after, where showing up was a given. We also knew that we were struggling to find people who could consistently follow a process, and when that process changed, learn the new process, and then follow that new process. Also, something that we think military veteran candidates can do very well given their prior experience. And then lastly, particularly for some of our warehouse roles, we needed to make sure that we were talking with folks who had experience doing a physical job and a willingness to continue doing a physical job. Prior, that meant looking for people who might have stocked shelves at a grocery store or worked in a warehouse, but also a military experience gives someone walking in the door to interview with us at least the experience of a physical role, and then likely they're walking in with a willingness to do that physical role once we've brought them into our process. And so we wanted to partner with a company to really help us improve that pipeline, which is how we found Seven Eagle. And although initially we believed that Seven Eagle was going to focus pretty exclusively on helping increase the number of military veterans in our workforce, with the impacts of the coronavirus and how things have kind of evolved over the last 3 months, we've asked them to actually expand their efforts to both military veterans and civilian non-military candidates. And there are several reasons why we've asked Seven Eagle to kind of expand the breadth of their search, but one of the big ones was the level of service and the expertise and knowledge in acquiring talent that they bring that is actually a step above what we were getting from Indeed Hire. So I want to talk about briefly kind of what is it now going to look like with Seven Eagle. Well, instead of having just artificial intelligence service searching through Indeed's platform, we have a group of very experienced human recruiters that are going to source passive and active candidates from a variety of sources. So Indeed, Career Builder, your ZipRecruiter sources, all of those places are sources that Seven Eagle can now go find candidates from. In addition to that, we have these very experienced, kind of dialed in human recruiters that are going to help screen out all the unqualified candidates. So when they get 700 applications for a job, they can whittle those 700 down to maybe the 50 worth phone screening. And then we have very experienced and very talented interviewers conducting full phone interviews. These aren't just scripted questions that we want them to gather information for us. These are folks who have decades of hiring experience at volume for similar industries, hiring experience at volumes significantly higher even than what we're doing, helping to conduct these phone interviews and really present to you, the hiring manager, a small number of qualified, vetted candidates. And really, for every candidate that they're going to be presenting to you, you're seeing the product of about 8 hours worth of work into that one person that they provide. So let's talk about, again, how this handoff works and where we expect you to put your focus, because specifically we want the hiring managers to focus down only on the on-site interviews and the job offers and getting people to actually join the company. And so our expectation when Seven Eagle presents you with a candidate is going to be you do one of two things. One, you schedule the on-site interview. You're going to look at the resume. Seven Eagle's not only going to present you with a resume, but you're also going to receive a video from the candidate kind of describing some of their background and experience. And we expect that from that video and from the resume, if you are interested in talking with this person, that you just bring them on site. Bring them on site for a tour, bring them on site to interview with everybody that needs to be involved in the decision-making process, so that at the end of the on-site interview, you can choose to either make an offer, or in some cases, you're absolutely going to decline to make an offer after the on-site interview. If you see a resume and a candidate that is clearly not qualified or not what you're looking for, then you should reject the resume and send feedback right away, so that Seven Eagle can figure out what did they miss in this person? Why are they out of calibration? We have been using Seven Eagle for over a month now, and they have already spent significant amounts of time calibrating on what we're looking for across warehouse roles, across some management roles, across CSR roles. And although we might have some minor differences regionally, these are by and large the same jobs. So you should be presented with some fairly good candidates that are worth bringing in. But if you happen to find the resume that is just absolutely missing the mark, send the feedback so that they can get calibrated. Other than that, you should not be phone interviewing any of these candidates before scheduling an on-site interview. We should be trusting the group of folks at Seven Eagle who have screened and vetted and interviewed someone, that all of the vetting work to get people obviously not qualified and not interested in the job out of our process has been completed. So now your job is to really just tour them, interview them, and decide whether or not this is the right person to make an offer to. Because Seven Eagle is doing all of that work up front, significantly more work than what we were doing even with Indeed Hire, that means you are going to get fewer candidates in the process than you did from any other source that you are used to working with, including Indeed Hire. So if we were just posting jobs out into the marketplace and having people apply to us, you might get a couple hundred applications for your open job. If we had Indeed Hire going through the process, you might get 50, 60 applications for that job. With Seven Eagle going through that process, you should expect to see handfuls of candidates that have really been vetted and are folks that are by and large going to be people that you should be talking with. Again, if they happen to miss the mark, I want you to send the feedback about the resume, but you should not be scheduling phone interviews or trying to gather a bunch of additional information unless you have a big question about the resume. If you have a question about the resume and you can't make a decision, you can reach out to the recruiter. The recruiter can probably answer that question based on the phone interview that she or he already had. But I really want to stress that you should not expect to see the same number of candidates for any of your open jobs. And that's because we are taking a significant amount of work out of your hands to really qualify and vet the people that are going to be presented to you, with the idea that you would then be able to just move forward with that bottom half of the funnel, with the interview process and making a hiring decision. The quality of the candidates presented to you from Seven Eagle should be markedly different from what you have seen by just receiving direct applications in the past. And truthfully, we have already seen that they are markedly different than the people that we have received from Indeed Hire. And in a number of our branches, we have also seen that the percentage of job offers we make to the candidates we're receiving is significantly higher as we receive candidates from Seven Eagle compared to any of our any other processes. And that's intentional. That is because of the amount of work we're doing up front. So really the idea with Seven Eagle is to reduce the amount of work you do and really just present you with people that we think are going to be worth interviewing on site, having you bring them in for an interview and a tour and make a hiring decision. This should be different than what you have experienced in the past. It should be fewer candidates in your queue, less work for you, and higher quality candidates for you to interview. And kind of now that I've shared this general overview with you, I'd like to introduce you to a number of folks from the Seven Eagle team. And we're going to have Jay from Seven Eagle join us and talk a little bit more about the company and what they do.
Hi, Jay here from Seven Eagle Group. Pleasure to see you all and meet you all. I just wanted to share quickly about what we do. We are a direct hire and permanent placement staffing company, and we specialize in staffing veterans and military spouses. And as Chris shared with you earlier, we have gone outside of the veteran candidate pool in order to provide you with the volumes of candidates that you need currently. But we're fairly certain of the way that our process works and the recruiters that we have standing behind it as well. Most of the recruiters that are on your account have anywhere from 10 to 17 years experience. The one leading the account, which is Naomi, which I'm sure most of you have already spoken to, has been in the staffing industry for 17 years, handling large volume, light industrial manufacturing and distribution accounts. So there was no one more suited for that position. And we're happy to have her on board. I can't stress enough that what Chris said about calibration is key for us. If there is something we're missing, we just need to know. If you can share that with us, that would be fantastic. We can dial it in and get a little bit better for you with every candidate moving forward. I won't take up any more of your time. Thank you for your time, and it's a pleasure to see all of you. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Naomi. I am a veteran ambassador with Seven Eagle and have been assigned to act as client manager to work with providing you and submitting the most qualified veteran as well as civilian candidates. I wanted to give you a little background into our screening process and what we will do before submitting any candidates to your dashboard. Once we have identified with candidates, we then reach out to them and do about a 30-minute phone screening, which that time we do provide information in regards to the background of MSI. We let them know that MSI originated in 1975, that you are in the top 3 for world trade and supply of marble and quartz and granite and precious stone slabs that come from 36 countries worldwide, and that these slabs are customized into your countertops, your backsplashes, your mosaics, and your textiles. We also inform them that you have a full line of LVT flooring, that one of your main clients is Home Depot. When screening and interviewing our candidates for the entry-level warehouse positions, there are several things that we like to go over with our candidates. We want to make sure that they're receptive to working in a team environment, in a high-volume production environment, and also are receptive to maybe being asked to do numerous things, which could include not only driving a sit-down forklift, but also using a pallet jack, being on their feet for the majority of the time, which is about 90% probably of the time, that they're open to shrink wrapping and palletizing and order pooling, that they can utilize a tablet or feel comfortable learning how to use one. These are really important things in regards to any of the candidates that we submit for these positions. We like to inform the candidates as well that if they're looking for a company that can provide new challenges, stability, great benefits, and a bonus, as well as room for growth and advancement for the right candidate, then that MSI is where they want to be.